Our next speaker is someone I know very well. I've been involved in these peace conferences or conventions since their inception, my husband and I both. And so I'm very honored to introduce the Honorable Gina de Venecia. She is the founder of 4 national welfare institutions for the shelter and support of abused women, street children, senior citizens, and disadvantaged orphan mothers. She helped establish the Women's Desk in all police precincts nationwide to handle children's and gender-sensitive cases. She serves in the 15th Congress of the Philippines and as a president of the Association of Women Legislators Foundation. She is married to Jose de Venecia, former Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Philippines. Please, a very warm welcome from my friend, Gina de Venecia.
Thank you very much to our beautiful moderator, Donna Schuler. Let me greet my co-panelist, Her Excellency Hajia Amina Namadi Sambo, Madam Julia Maciel, Tansri Dr. Rafia Salim, Mrs. Colette Caprara, and the beautiful wife of Mr. Hyun Jin Moon. She looks like a Korean actress, Dr. Jun Suk Moon. Other distinguished guests, Salamat Tengah Hari, good afternoon. Allow me to start by sharing the interesting observation of the Dalai Lama on women as leaders. In his candid television interview in England on April this year, he weighed in on the debate around women leadership and came out firmly on our side. During the discussion, he said that he'd be pleased if his successor was a woman. The crisis of suffering and inequality in the world, he said, requires a compassionate approach to leadership. And in that respect, females have more potential.
That's right.
Because we have more sensitivity about others' well-being. In line with his pronouncement, I'm very pleased that this Global Peace Conference is being held here in the wonderful country, which I consider as a cradle of women leaders with distinguished ethic of compassion, like the indomitable Zaina Anwar, who transformed the Sisters of Islam into a global voice for advancing Islamic women's rights, the spirited Marina Mahathir, daughter of former Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, who was one of Asia's leading voices in fighting AIDS and discrimination based on sexual orientation, and the kind-hearted mother Mangalam Iyashwami Iyer of Pure Life Society, whose giving spirit and devotion to serving the orphans and the less fortunate epitomized the benevolence of Blessed Teresa of Calcutta. Similar to Malaysia, my country, the Philippines, is also home to exceptional women leaders who are dedicated in the promotion of peace and upholding the dignity of humankind. Leading the roster was the late Corazon Aquino, an icon of democracy, who showed the world that toppling a dictatorship can be humane and bloodless. The phenomenal triumph of the so-called People Power Revolution led by former President Aquino did not only help in rebuilding our nation, but in a way also transform the identity of Filipino women. Thus far, we've had 2 women presidents, and women are similarly well represented in our local governments in both houses of Congress. As president of the 79-member Association of Women Legislators, I say that we are achieving a sense of balance with our men folks through active participation in the passage of laws that range from gender equality issues to preservation of our country's democratic institutions. The role of women in my country is largely based on the context of Filipino culture that is focused on the community, with the family as the main unit of society. It is in this framework that hierarchical structure where women find respect because in this setting, the mother, who by tradition reigns as the heart of the family, enjoys a greater share of equality. Ironically, our strength is also our weakness, because women who chose to dedicate their lives in serving their family are also the most vulnerable to abuse because they have no source of income. The sad plight of abused women moved me to build a national charitable institution called the Haven for Women in 1995 when I was president of the Congressional Spouses Foundation, Inc. My husband, Gina de Venecia, was the Speaker of the House in the Philippines at that time. It is a 16-building rehabilitation complex for women who had been raped and victimized by domestic violence, incest, forced prostitution, and illegal recruitment. It has 15 regional havens all over our archipelago to reach out to the abused women in the countryside, the first of their kind in Southeast Asia, which then U.S. First Lady Hillary Clinton acknowledged when she was in Manila. Today, they stand as the bastion for the protection of abused women in my country, with over 25,000 clients since its founding 18 years ago. I mention this to underscore the importance of our session on women in leadership with the theme toward an ethic of compassion and cooperation, because I can only relate in terms of my experience at the Haven and of the damaged souls we've been trying to help. Recognizing the vital role of women in ensuring the integrity of the family, the Philippine Congress has enacted a comprehensive human rights law called the Magna Carta of Women that seeks to eliminate discrimination by recognizing, protecting, and fulfilling the rights of Filipino women. Among its provision is the assurance that 5% of annual budgets of government agencies is automatically appropriated for women empowerment, which is perhaps unique in the world, although only partially implemented for lack of funds. The impact of this law was reflected in the Global Gender Gap Report released 2 months ago by the World Economic Forum that said, the Philippines is the best performer within the Asia-Pacific region when it comes to gender equality. My country has likewise improved its global ranking to 5th place among 136 countries in terms of the ability to close the gender gap in 4 key areas: economic equality, political participation, health and survival, and educational attainment. I'm happy to learn that Malaysia has its own Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, in line with your country's commitment to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women. In the spirit of mutual cooperation, I'd like to share with you some of the landmark laws that women lawmakers in the Philippines helped pass to realize a peaceful and productive world for women and children. These are the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act, that recognizes the need to protect the family and its members from violence and threats to their personal security. The Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act, acknowledging the fact that women are the #1 victims of human trafficking. The Women in Development and Nations Building Act, that promotes the integration of women as equal partners of men in nation building. The Anti-Rape Law, that declares rape as a public crime. The Solo Parent Welfare Act, that provides benefits and privileges to solo parents and their children. An act strengthening the prohibition on discrimination against women with respect to terms and conditions of employment, and an act providing assistance to women engaging in micro and cottage business enterprises. As co-builders of our nation, we, the women of Asia, must stand up for peace and basic rights, and together bind all of humankind in a global community of true love, beyond nationality, beyond religion, beyond ethnicity or culture. Let us join hands and continue to embrace these challenges to make the Asian region an even safer place. Lastly, I extend my sincere gratitude to the leadership of the Global Peace Convention, Dr. Hyun Jin Moon, our host, the Honorable Tan Sri Datin Paduka Seri Heji, and the stakeholders who invested their time and efforts to make this event a rousing success, and to Mrs. Juksun Moon, who is our honorable host, the honored host in our meeting today. Moreover, I thank the host country, Malaysia, for your outstanding hospitality. Terima kasih. Thank you very much.